What's up everyone, Michael Linehan here, back with the YouTube video on all things fitness. I'm getting tongue twisted today. Anyway, I wanted to talk today about a topic which I have a lot of experience in, unfortunately, but I see a lot of other people going down this path as well, and I would always try my best to steer people away from it. And that being the path of restrictive diets. So this video is all about what vegan, keto, intermittent fasting, and carnivore diets all have in common. Right, so let's start with the first thing, and this is like the biggest culprit. Sorry, not culprit. This is the biggest crime that all these diets commit, right? Which is just not observing or not admitting to the universal truth of calories in, calories out. Simply put, energy in, energy out. So a calorie is literally just a measurement of energy. Energy is required for every single function of the world, of the universe. It cannot be destroyed, it cannot be created, it can simply be transferred from one means to another. Now, that energy balance of whether you're eating too much energy or whether you're expending too much energy or too little energy is what dictates our body weight at the end of the day. It is a very simple concept to wrap our heads all around, and people might say, look, what's the difference between a calorie counting diet and something like vegan, or aren't they all types of diets? And that's absolutely not the case. So a calorie count, let's say a diet that takes note of calories, well, calories are common to every single one of the aforementioned restrictive diets. Every single one of them requires you to consume some form of calories. So calories are just that basic unit of energy. And that ultimately is like when they say that you get 80% of your results from 20% of your efforts, well, the 20% of your efforts or 80% of the results, that all comes from whether your calories are on point. So let's say, for example, if I'm trying to lose body fat, it doesn't really matter whether I'm consuming a certain amount of calories. Let's say 2,000 calories, right, to lose weight. If I'm consuming that on a carnivore diet, a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet, you name it, keto diet, intermittent fasting, doesn't matter. The difference in the results is not even going to be statistically relevant. And the reason I can say that with so much confidence is because that has been empirically agreed upon and proven so many times. But yet, all the time when you hear people, let's say, advocating for one of these kind of diets, they're always saying it with a certain, with this kind of statement: studies have shown, right? Or it's scientifically proven that. Studies have shown many things. There are studies on pretty much every topic you could imagine, and there are conflicting studies on pretty much any one of those topics as well that will say the contrary. However, empirical truth, or what is broadly agreed upon by the broadest amount of professionals, of researchers, etc., is where we can reach that empirical objective truth. And the empirical objective truth in all things fitness and nutrition is that calories in, calories out is going to lead to the biggest determinant when it comes to your body composition goals. So how much fat mass you're carrying versus muscle mass. So it's the biggest determinant there. It's also the biggest determinant when it comes to nutrition of key health markers. Things like inflammatory markers, your blood glucose levels, dietary cholesterol levels. I even experienced this so many times over the last 10 years or so, where I've been calorie tracking pretty much all that time. And every now and then I get a little bit of doubt in my mind where I'm saying, oh my God, I need to check my cholesterol levels, or I need to check my blood glucose levels because I'm eating a lot of sugar lately, or a lot of, I think my girlfriend asked me to get it done because I was eating 3 eggs every morning as part of my breakfast. Even though I actually knew, you know, over the years that, well, calories in, calories out is going to be the biggest determinant in tracking my macros. So it doesn't really matter whether I'm eating a whole pile of dietary cholesterol or dietary sugar, because I don't have any pre-existing issues in those areas. So once my calorie balance is pretty stable, which it is, even if I'm going in a deficit or a bulk, it's done in a balanced way. And I knew that deep down, but still, you know, I got a bit nervous because people say these things and they don't really know they don't have, let's say, the education in nutrition. And every time I've tested myself, all my numbers have been perfect. And I don't limit myself on things like pizzas, on eggs, on sugar, on any of these things that any of these various restrictive diets say are evil, because I understand that ultimately there is no such thing as a good or bad or clean or dirty food. It all depends on dosage. So what all these diets tend to, I guess, forget is that dosage is the most important thing, not the food that you're eating, and they do that by negating the calories in, calories out rule. So that's the first crime they commit, let's say. The other thing they all have in common is that they all share some form of restrictive eating. Now, lately there's been a big push that restrictive eating is, I guess, how would you call it? It's like a form of inserting discipline, and that discipline is lost on the latest generation of soy boy, feminine men. That's a big message nowadays. I agree with some of it, by the way. And I think discipline is a great thing, particularly where I'm living right now in the world, in the Balkans, in East Europe. There's people are just in general a lot more disciplined than what I was used to or what I grew up in, and it's actually fantastic to be around. There's like an appreciation for excellence, and people don't lie about whether something is, excellent or whether it's subpar. Pretty honest that way. And it's just different to the kind of participation trophy generation that I grew up in Ireland. But anyway, aside from the point, so there's a lot of people trying to like insert this, how would I put it? It's almost like a morally correct thing to be doing some form of restrictive eating in this discipline obsessed fitness culture. The problem is you're going to need discipline across multiple areas of your life, right? And I'm not convinced that discipline is best placed in restricting types of foods for no reason, like with no benefit other than the fact that you're just kind of like self-flagellating, because you can take, as I've mentioned previously, once your energy balance, your macros are accounted for properly, and you know your dosages, you know your numbers of what your body needs, which is actually pretty straightforward to calculate with a small bit of variance that you can predict pretty easily based on visually seeing what's happening in the mirror and what's happening on the scales. So instead of doing that and just saying, right, I'm going to eat what I like, and I'm going to be disciplined in that I budget out my calories, and I'm going to be disciplined in having a flexible diet for the rest of my life, rather than these crazy like rules of not eating vegetables, because some random study has shown that phytonutrients or all these real leaps in logic to try and say that a certain food group is bad for you, and that this kind of self-flagellation of I don't eat that is somehow going to lead you to some magical path of enlightenment. And that leads me to like the other thing that they do is there's a lot of magical thinking involved in all of them. You'll always see like these documentaries, like whether it's the Game Changers or there's some carnivore one or an intermittent fasting one or whatever, where it's like there's where the person is now, And then there's this super energetic, positive lifestyle on the other side. And you can visualize it, and they sell you that dream, and all you have to do is make this like leap of like just forgetting all rationality and logic, and then you'll get there. But the reality is that does not happen. I mean, building any kind of successful physique, any kind of successful habits or behaviors, they're done incrementally. They're not done by, like, let's say, just eliminating entire food groups and labeling them as evil. And then they tend to all have like their own specific niche in terms of that magical thinking. So for example, if you go vegan, you're all of a sudden gonna become a yogi surrounded by a load of greenery and plant life, right? That's all in the marketing there. If you're an intermittent faster, then you're going to be this hyper successful businessman who can scale your company, and you have the perfect morning routine. Carnivore diet, kind of similar to the intermittent fasting kind of homoerotic dream, right? And then with the paleo diet, yeah, then that one is, it's all about nothing that isn't natural, right? They're the ones who, there's all these different health hacks for leading an ancestral life. Now, the thing is, even when they say things like natural foods with some of these diets or whatever, this is another fallacy that they make, which, by the way, before I get into that, I'm just going to stay on that topic of they all have this magical thinking element where if I adopt this diet, then I'm going to almost become like this end product of who I'm looking to be. And that's not the case. It's literally just your diet. It's not a reflection of who you are as a person, your morals, your capacity for discipline. If anything, I just think that it's using your finite resource of discipline and putting it in a pretty stupid place if your end goal is to actually be a successful businessman or a successful, I don't know, whatever it is that you want to achieve. You're wasting that finite resource of discipline by eliminating food groups where there's no need. The other thing then, when I said about the whole thing of things being natural, a lot of them play into this naturalistic fallacy. So I could make the argument that because men and women, humans, so anything man-made, right, is technically natural because we are a function of nature. Every food we eat is a chemical compound. So whether it's a man-made chemical, let's say mix or a chemical makeup, it's when you break it down to its root components, that is no different than picking up an apple out of the ground, which is also a combination of chemicals. So yeah, there's a lot of BS around these diets. A lot of it is marketing, right? Having said that, if you have your macros on point, if you have your calorie intake on point, and if you like eating some of these diets, like if they're easier for you to stick to, or you find random things like your skin clears up or you're less congested, let's say, because you're, avoiding dairy, there might actually be benefits there. And particularly if it stops you, let's say, making decisions around food, like if it limits decision fatigue, that can be a great one. But it's important to understand that that's a lot of the reason why you're getting so many, let's say, cognitive benefits that people say they get off these diets. It's less decision fatigue, and a lot of it is also placebo effect. So the placebo effect is so strong because ultimately humans were built for belief, not necessarily built for truth, right? So if we believe something to be true, our bodies will respond in a way that actually, in a way, makes it kind of like our truth, at least for a while. So I've experienced that on all these diets when I tried them back in the past, is that they'd all follow the same pattern where I kind of got sucked in by the marketing, because I've always, since a child, I've been a real victim of advertising and marketing. A bit of a sucker when I was younger anyway. Wisened up a little bit in the last few years, but they'd reel you in with the marketing. You gear yourself up to try it after a lot of debating whether you're going to do it or not, whether you can keep to the commitment. You try it. After about 12 weeks, you've maxed out all the benefits, and you're actually feeling some great benefits. That is that prime placebo effect range. Is like, you've done a month in and you've accomplished something, so you feel great because you've achieved a goal. And that, even just in that conquest of achieving a goal, you're going to get this nice stable boost in dopamine. And then after about the 3-month mark, where all the novelty has worn off of this thing and the reality sets in of trying to continually live a lifestyle, excluding foods for no good reason at all, that's when all the benefits get completely outweighed by the negatives that come in and take it from a bit of a peak into this massive dip of just this anxiousness, this depression of craving foods which are natural to crave, because you need a variety of different foods from different sources of carbohydrates, from plants, from meats. And I would even say that for a lot of people who are really active, some fast, dirty food can be quite beneficial in replenishing things like glycogen and electrolytes for hydration. So yeah, this is what all these diets kind of have in common. Ultimately, everybody is different. That's why everybody actually needs a tailored approach, where you start with what's important, being energy balance. That's going to give you the largest amount of benefits. From there, you get your macronutrients right, so proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and within that even fiber, because of all the health benefits of upping your fiber intake. And then from there, you can play around with things like, do I like to fast? Do I like to eat 3 meals a day or 5 meals a day? Do I like to skip breakfast? Do I like to cut out dairy because I get less congested and my skin is better? Am I going to limit caffeine? Do I absolutely love caffeine? So once the big 2 things of, calories in, calories out, macronutrients, and then that's when you get that kind of element of customization, or taking things out or putting more of something in. That's the last piece, and that's that where you're going to get that 20% results, whereas the top 2 items I listed, that's your 80% results for a long-term, healthy, happy, energized life. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it didn't come across a little bit too trying to kill people's dreams and whatnot, but it's just, I've been through all these diets before. They all follow the same pattern in terms of how they recruit people, reel people in. They almost have this cult or religious following behind them. There's a certain amount of cognitive dissonance that goes with people who follow them, and then they all follow the same pattern of shiny new object. Yeah, I'm feeling the benefits, I'm telling everybody about it. Then I experience this drop off in motivation and drop off in the benefits, to where it becomes a negative. And then I feel like a bit of an idiot when I go back to my routine diet after telling everybody about this amazing breakthrough diet that I'm going to be on for the rest of my life. Anyway, if you like the video, please give it a like, please subscribe. And also, if you want to work with me, there'll be a link in the description about how I can work with you to fine tune your nutrition, as I spoke about in this video. All right, peace out.